This is Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture's Wednesday webinar, How to Create a WordPress Blog. Our presenters today are Catherine Hamrick and Michele Walfred. All archived presentations, along with all upcoming presentations, can be found at our website. And a special thank you to our sponsor. This presentation has been recorded, but Michele and Catherine have provided their email addresses for follow-up questions. Thank you so much for listening.
So let's get started. WordPress made easy. When Michele and I developed this plan, we thought about the very process, the steps that we went through first time we opened up a program. That is how our slides are organized today. This will be very much the way that you will open up WordPress and go step by step, and this will be a reference for you. So let's walk through it. All right, first of all, we ask ourselves who should blog. Michele, would you speak briefly to that as you are very acquainted with our audience?
Yes, some of you who are listening may recognize yourself on the left-hand column. You may have an ag-related business of some sort. I've listed some of them here. That's not all of them. But WordPress, you can use it as a blog, and this is just to write about it. A blog is like a diary that you share with everybody. So we want, as some of you may know, agriculture, particularly when we're talking about topics like GMOs or versus organic and animal welfare and animal concerns, there's a lot of negative anti-agricultural voices out there. So we need and we encourage you just to talk about what you do, what's your life. This should be very casual, but there's a lot of great things that are going on in family farms, and we are encouraging you to share that. So this is a very fun process. If you email people, you can blog. So we're going to hope that you take advantage of what Catherine's going to show you today.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to WordPress. This is the first vision of WordPress that you will see. So you will move into the program. But before we do that, we will ask ourselves very quickly, why do people use WordPress? It is the content management system that most great groups, publishers use it, banks use it, corporations. It's easy because it's intuitive. You don't need to know HTML. It's very logical. You'll see a logic to how we set it up today, and WordPress makes it easy for you, and you can opt for free. Work on a free WordPress site when you're getting started. You get some great stuff with WordPress. Great part is you have so many things to choose from. You don't have to pay for that. The rest you can see as we go through the program. The nice part is also statistics. That means analytics. It does that for you. The first thing you will see after you've entered the site is you will choose a theme. You will see a page with many things you will scroll through. Because of time today, I chose a theme that I think accommodates how some ag-related businesses might want to set up. And today we are talking about a farm stand, which I have named after myself, Hamrick. I do not sell produce, but just creating a little example for you. Here is a theme that has been very popular. They made it free last year. It is called Hemingway Rewritten. If you look at the picture, you will see that there is a barn, green grass, and beautiful trees. Very soothing. I encourage these colors, friendly colors, yellow, blue, browns.
And Catherine, that's the default image, right? That comes with the frame.
Yes, it's a default image, but we'll show a little bit later how you can load up your own background image. But if you're just getting started, it's nice to choose a theme that you can work with. KISS, what does that mean? Keep it simple, sister, which means when you are choosing your domain name, the name of your site. You want to be very straightforward. In my case, I am choosing a very simple one that you'll see in the next slide. You want to use keywords associated with your business. In this case, we have produce, we have fruit, we have veggies, we have fresh, we have Farmstand. You need an easy-to-use URL. So when you're writing it out, you want it to be easy to spell, order, keep it tight, and no hyphens, no underlines, no capitalizations. You want it to be very easy for people to enter it if they need to. So the URL I chose was Hamrick Fresh Farmstand. Tested it out, and it is available. Notice that the URL ends in WordPress.com. That's what you get when it's free. You can pay a little bit more money and purchase a .com, a .org, or a .net. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about that, Michele?
No, I think that's pretty straightforward.
Okay, then we'll move on. We are going to search. You will see to test your URL, whether it exists, in the search box, you will see that I have entered Hamrick Fresh Farmstand. Well, obviously, because I named my site that, it does work, but it will pop up and tell you whether you can use that URL or not, and you might have to come up with something else. Okay, very briefly, free premium business. Of course, we are starting with free. There are upgrades of premium $99, business $2.99. You move up to this when you're really making an investment, and most e-commerce sites will particularly use the business. So, continuing, fill in account settings. You're setting up your account the way you would an email account or a Twitter account. You have your primary site. You're just, again, entering Hamrick Fresh Farmstand. A web address will pop up, and look how easy it is to see, and English is always turned on for most computers. So, let me back up. I hit grab a Gravatar. A Gravatar is your identity. It's an avatar. It's the little face, the happy face, that pops up and fills in the blank spot or the ed. I'm mentioning this because you will be taken to the Gravatar and you will be creating your own line identity. And you will be uploading a photo and a description of yourself in there. Here we come up with an easy to remember username, Hamrick Farm. It's the way you come up with a username for getting into email or anything else. And then we have an email address. This is all artificial, I might say. Now where the little round head is, that is where your happy face will go, your pretty picture. So let's take a look at that real quickly. Yes, and where you gestured over at the green, move the arrow back there. That's where your face will show up every time you're working in the WordPress site. Snapshot, who are you? You will be filling out some information in Gravatar. It will take you step by step. Here's my picture, and I describe myself as soul deep storyteller, blogger, journalist, editor. Then I throw in something a little personal, Southern expat, francophile, classic lit chick, and poem hunter. I have a literary site. Obviously, you will do something with a nice turn of phrase that makes you different from your competition. So, and you will also upload a picture that's a square. And usually, wouldn't you say, Michele, you might use a picture that you put into LinkedIn or Google+.
Exactly. Any profile picture that you have used on social media would be appropriate in this case. It could be also your business logo if you wanted to, but this is really about you, the author, not so much the website.
Okay. Oh, got a little eager there. After you establish your Gravatar, you will then go to a primary page. If you look up where the green is, you see Reader. This page shows you your community. These are blogs. If you scroll down, you will see a lot of blogs that have just been entered, and you will have the opportunity to follow certain blogs. But really, right now, you want to go ahead and move in. I always say this is your community page. It's as if you're outdoors. However, when you click My Site, you are going inside. You are going indoors to your house to set up your privacy, so to speak. Okay, it's time to make your blog pretty. Without any customizing, any colors, any personality, this is what it would look like. Nobody wants to see this. So let's figure out how we're going to add some color and a little excitement to our blog. This is Command Central, as Michele always says to me. You're at the dashboard, and that means you are at the controls. This is the nerve center. It's like the dashboard of your car, however you want to compare it. This is where you direct how your blog is going to appear. We will be going piece by piece down this long column on the left. I just want you to see what it looks like, dashboard. And please notice when I have a word highlighted in blue at the top, that will signal to you immediately what the topic is. So when you go back to review and you're setting up your site, you will automatically know where you are if you're referencing it as you build. Go to my site and click on WordPress Admin. This is the administrative button. You click on that and it will take you to component parts where you will start to build areas like the blog post where it goes, pages. You've seen pages that are in other businesses that are like About Us. We're going to create a little About Us page, and you will see media too. That's where you insert pictures, that sort of thing, right there. Right? Moving right along, you see that. Now, we're going to drop down, and the first thing we're going to do, again, this is the order that you're led through on the WordPress site, we're going to customize. And customize simply means putting together the look. Colors, shapes, that sort of thing. You hit that customize button, and this is the key roadmap to customizing. If you go up and down the left side, as the arrow is indicating, you have something called site identity, colors and backgrounds, fonts, header image, that's simply your big background picture, and a static front page. Now, what does that mean? We're going to find out. Here it's drawn for you a little more easily. We are going to take these in the order that they are presented, except for widgets. We will add widgets last. So let us move on and actually go through our site title and tagline. So the site title is Hamrick Farmstand, and the tagline is Serving in-season fruits and veggies year-round. Notice I've put in keywords. You can look at these two lines, and in these words you can see exactly what my business does. And there's the blank for the site title and the tagline. We fill it in, and let's go to the top and save, hit save and activate button at the top. You'll often have these save buttons as you're going through the WordPress site, so it's easy to get very excited about your setup, but always check the page for a save button because most elements have to be saved. That's just a note of caution there.
And one thing that, if you back up a second, Catherine, go back. In her initial, when she initially did her name, this was all just one big long word without spaces. So here she's put the spaces in, so that's changed her identity from the original block. If we went back several slides, you don't have to do that, but it all ran together. So this is where now she puts in the spaces to break that up and then adds her tagline. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So and you hit the activate button, and this is what you see. It's getting very pretty. You can see the scenery a lot more closely. So that is our first step. Palette. What is a palette? After you do the site and tagline, you're going to be working with colors. With a free WordPress site, often the palette is chosen for you. You have two choices. One is the lighter yellow, which is the one we're using today. If you went over to the one that's sort of that turquoise green with the gray on the left, if you use that, your background would come out gray with reversed out type. And since this is a business, I encourage you to use more white space. Photographers, designers often use the darker space because they're playing up images. But this is definitely good for the type of business you're in. Is the default font in the mood? Think about your Microsoft Word panel. You know how you have home and then you can go over and drop down for fonts. This does very much the same thing. For instance, where it has headings and we have Hamrick Farmstand, they have a very simple font for this look. Now, if you wanted to go with something less modern and a little homier, you would just hit the headings and the fonts. You get a drop down there and it will give you a nice scroll through the way you do on Microsoft Word to choose your font style. So match your style to your background picture. And here I'm going to leave it for all purposes on default. Header image. Now this is where you might want to replace the background image, as Michele mentioned a little bit earlier. So we're starting out with this beautiful rustic barn and pasture and trees. However, if you wanted to put something in there that represented your business a little more characteristically, then you would insert that. So you would go and upload just where it has add a new image. You would punch that in and it would upload just as you upload any kind of photo for any other site you're on. Now, the last element we're dealing with here in customization is the static front page. Static front page is checked off, and this means it's a blog. You've probably been to visit many blogs, and you'll see that often the blog post is prominent with other pages you can click on, but the blog is prominent with the various posts, which are stories or recipes or tips, and you scroll through that. So we're presenting this WordPress site as a blog. So you see that it's clicked where your latest posts are. Back to the dashboard. Now we're about to become authors. You're at the dashboard, you're going to drop down to post, and then you will drop down to add new. And here's your layout that you're working with. You will see.
Very similar to email.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's the nice part. You'll relate to a lot of the visuals here. All right, here I've entered a very simple title, Garden Fresh Tomato Basil Pie. I wanted to share this pie to kind of warm up my site, make it personal, maybe talk about my grandmother who made it, something like that. But the first thing we're going to do is just drop in the elements. So we're going to drop in the title and simply some text, and let's see what happens. Well, the first post. When you get your first post, there are no pictures. It looks a little bare. On the right-hand side, you're going to see some elements, and these are elements on the sidebar. The sidebar is not quite the way we want it to be. We're going to keep a few things, move it around a little bit. Michele, drop down to meta, the last word in the sidebar. This is something that you will eliminate, and we will talk about that. Make note of that. Now, we're going to insert an image. It looked a little bare there when we first set up the post. So the easiest thing to do to experiment the first time is to hit your cursor or your insert right in front of prep. And then you're going to go add media. You punch that button, add media, and this is what happens. Where do you get files? Well, in this case, we're uploading from the desktop, so I'm going to select Files, and we will hit that button. Again, a very familiar process, and this is what will appear. What is this? We're getting into what we call our media library, and this is some tomatoes, very pretty, that I thought would be in the mood for the pie. And so over to the right, we have some details, and there's just a little bit of information that you need to fill out. The top information is important. The title is Heirloom Tomatoes. Caption is optional. Michele, would you speak to filling in these titles for images?
Yes, very, very important. As a photographer, I will tell you that when I shoot with my Nikon, or if you have a Canon or a nice camera, and you take your SD card, you put it into your computer, the file, each picture is going to be called DSC _ 1234, 1235, 1236, and so forth. If you typically, when I shoot with my iPhone and I upload those to my computer, they will be image 1001, image 1002. You want to try and rename them. So if you get a picture of heirloom tomatoes, I'm going to change that photograph from DSC 1234 to heirloom tomatoes, or Delaware tomatoes, or Delaware corn, or whatever topic it is. You want to name it with a couple of keywords. This is the biggest mistake bloggers make, and it is very, very important, because people, how many times have you ever gone to Google and Google Images or Bing Images and look for a picture of, say, sunflowers or corn or farms? If you don't name your pictures correctly, your pictures will never come up. We want people to stumble upon you accidentally, and the way they will do that is through image searches. It will drive traffic to your blog, or to your website for that matter. So definitely take the time to rename your pictures before you upload. But let's say you forget, and so you upload this great picture of tomatoes, and over here it says title image 1001. This is where you can change it again to something like heirloom tomatoes, as Catherine has done, Delaware tomatoes, or something that will really drive the local and unique part of your picture to your audience.
Okay. You'll enjoy working with images. It's a lot of fun in the layout. This is just a blow up, as it were, of the previous image, and this is again your options for giving titles. Really, the main thing is to enter the title, Heirloom Tomatoes, and captions are optional. You can play with that, and sometimes you'll want to caption, other times the picture just speaks 1,000 words. Okay, here we're looking at the size of the image. You don't have to sweat sizing. Again, that's the beautiful part of WordPress. Here, where the arrow is pointing, you'll see the size is medium. You get 3 choices. You get a smaller size, medium size, and a large size. Go for the medium usually, because you only have so much space on the computer screen, most people viewing it. So it's best to go with a medium-sized image. Let's take a look at how that turns out. Picture perfect for a post. Notice here I have the tomatoes. I'm having it at the very top. I'm not wrapping the copy in this case because I don't want my recipe broken up. However, Michele is pointing out that you can move images to the left, the center, or the right, and it's very simple to do, just as you would say in Word paragraphs. If you look at the bar, it's a lot like Microsoft Word where you have the bar. So it's very easy to use similar elements for your layout. All right, we have our first post. If you recall our previous post, we just had text. Now we have a picture, and you can see a little bit of the recipe coming up behind it. But let's notice something. Look at the spacing in the title, garden fresh, tomato, hyphen, basil pie. That is a little bit of a bad break, so we will go back and recast that title before we're finished with our post. But the point is we're starting to see some things come together. Now we're entering an element called a tag. You may be very familiar with tags. Tags are functioning the way Michele said in images what your titles for your images do, keywords. And here in our post, we only have really two important words, and one would be heirloom tomatoes, and the other would be the name of the recipe, tomato basil pie. You would not be listing ingredients in the recipe. That is almost ancillary. So people will find you. Now let's do one more reminder. Down here, save the draft. Once you're in there, you want to save draft. Let's move the arrow a little bit to the left where we see publish. Pay attention when you're under layouts, because sometimes you get in a hurry, you're sort of excited about what you're doing, and it can happen that you will hit that publish and you will publish a post before you have it prepared. So again, always check those exits as you're going in and out of layout. Now we're going to create something called a category, and we go to the dashboard to do that. Now, a category really means a topic that appears among a range of topics on your website. So a category here would be recipes. I'm going to show you how to put that in just a minute, but a brief word about categories. It is advisable for most websites to have about 5 categories. You may have been on a blog where people in their sidebar have as many as 20 categories. That is highly discouraged. But since you are in a niche business, or you may be a niche blogger, it's a little easier to keep your categories under control. Go for 5, 6, 7. That's ideal. If you want to do 4, that's fine, but do not get into double digits. All right, obviously our first category will be recipes. So we have hit post, and now under categories we're giving a name, recipes. So all you've got to do is fill that in. Do not worry about the rest of this page at this time. Widgets. What are widgets? Well, you'll see that we have a lot of things going on our WordPress site, but widgets are very important, and they are key to appearance. You're going to drop down, hit appearance, and then you will hit widgets. What are widgets? Widgets are tools. They really affect how you present your material. Add, arrange, remove from the sidebars. We already looked a little bit at the sidebar on the right. Well, the widget, depending on which one it is, affects the look of your sidebar. And you use it to customize or present the material or the content on your sidebar. So let's see how that really works. Widgets. Here there is a tremendous page of widgets. You can scroll down and you will see many different types. When you get into the WordPress site the first time, you will see a very simple arrangement as you do here. You see a sidebar, you see a search box, you see recent posts. Those will be a list of posts by the time you've written several. Comments, archives, and categories. You can arrange these. It's easy to grab a block, just move it up or down. This meta, you will grab that meta and you will pull it over. All you do is you grab it and you pull it over, as if you get a cursor and you move something over. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it works like building blocks, so you can stack them on top and rearrange them.
Exactly. And some themes are more complicated, so they might have 2 columns and a sidebar. They have footers, but this is a very simple presentation. Okay, recipes is your first category. All right, when you go to category, we're back in this stack, as Michele called it. It has a little drop-down menu, and you have some options in that drop-down menu. But the one I like is you show the hierarchy. You will be adding several categories on your site. So you might have recipes, but you also might go add a category vegetables, fruits.
Or family history, farm history, or
Right, anything or
overarching topic.
overarching, yes. So anyway, let's go and again, let's just check that save button on the right. Be sure you hit your save button. When I first started doing this, I would get excited and forget that save button, so I'm just reinforcing that. Okay, below you have tags. You enter the category. Look at the tags. We've already put those in. Now we have categories. We drop down and we simply type in recipes in the box. And these will now show up on your post. They will be at the bottom. You will see heirloom tomatoes and tomato basil pie. And recipes will be in the sidebar. So you have already enriched your presentation with keywords and topics that are important to your business. Okay, now we're going to do something. We're going to insert a URL, a bit of linked text. Here, I decided I wanted a little personality in here. So I talked about where our recipe came from. One of our family's favorite recipes is Nanny's tomato basil pie. She was a famous scratch cook. However, we know you are a busy cook, so this version calls for commercial pastry ready in 40 minutes. You want to be very cheerful in your copy, but then it's nice to tuck in a little tip or a little extra information. Take the time to, well, what are we going to take the time to do? We're going to hand a little information about the best way to store tomatoes. So we are bringing this page to our audience. So you're going to grab that URL, and you will hit the link button. See the little link there? Looks almost like a little safety pin. And you will see the little URL box. You drop it in, and what does all that represent? The end of your sentence. The text you are linking. Store tomatoes properly. You hit the add link button, and you've just enriched your site a little more. Take time to store tomatoes properly. Now your reader will click on that, and just as you have probably a million times at this point in your career, you will simply go to that page, and it adds a little interest. Oh, I got so excited about that. Yes.
I do want to point out that when you're linking to another page, you don't want people to leave your site. So if you click this button, which does, when they click on the link, it will open in a new tab, keeping your site still active. So that's an important thing. Otherwise, your browser window will leave your site to go to this browser window. So you do want to click that box most of the time.
All right, now the link is active. It was active a moment ago. It's active again. So people will click right there. And the color is that pretty green color, so that's your secondary color. And it shows up very nicely. And there it is. We saved it, we updated it, and this time I also put in a little extra text in the box. Let me jump back there and show you. Up here and the title I added a few more words. Fresh from the garden, exclamation point, and tomato basil pie. I decided 6 or 7 words might help me with that odd little hyphen break we had earlier. So I filled that in, and we hit the update button, and you'll go through several updates. And now, as we say in the South, it's looking good. So it looks good, and we also have on the right side, you start to see that our sidebar is popping up. You have a search button at the top, but now you have your first post is there in this very pretty green. And then you have your first recipes. As you fill out more categories as your recipes is your first category, the uncategorized will disappear once you've added more posts and categories. Okay, now it's time to make a page. Well, what is a page? How is a page different from a post? If you remember up at the bar, we had 2 choices for a page. One is home, and that's the static page where your post appears, and the other one is the about page. And you're so used to seeing the about us that you go in to see the history of the background of any website. Well, we're going to fill that in now. Now, we again do our drop down from my site to pages, and we click on that. And this will have a different look from our post layout. All right, we are here on pages, and we see it is going to be about, so we're going to add. Click add, and this is what we have. We have a create about us in editor. This whole area is called the editor. Now we'll fill in a title about us, and here I have simply dropped in some copy in Greek, and I've dropped in a picture. We follow the same drop in the way we did on the post we demonstrated with the heirloom tomato picture. So here we have a pretty picture. It's, I would say, a larger square, sort of prominently placed. When you first get started, I suggest starting on the left and seeing how your copy sets up, and we'll add a little bit more. And when you work on the pages, remember, always go over to the corner and either save the draft or update. All right, check it out. We have clicked Save Draft, and now we see the font. You'll notice at the very top we have scrolled down from our big background image, and we see About Us and the beautiful road to the farmhouse. And we're starting a story talking about our background of our history, and you can romance it any way you want to. Now let's look a little bit more as we drop down. We've added some other images, again inserting them the way we did the way we did our tomato images, heirloom tomatoes. And here we have a farm. And then as we go deeper to an essay, here we might be talking about the look of our farm stand. And sometimes it's nice to put a small image. This is a thumbnail size. Again, if you look at the farmhouse, it's size large, the next is medium, and the other one is just a simple little finish of a sign of apples for sale. So it's all light and pleasant, and look at how the colors coordinate together. It's very pretty.
And Catherine, one thing I did want to point out to folks that are creating ag blogs, the About Us, you can also add another page, for instance, your mission statement or your family values, or you may have, if you're a poultry farmer, you may talk about, it might be a paragraph just about how you taking care of chickens is important to you and you care about animal welfare, or it could just be a statement about your family history. So you can do many things with this, and a page is, think of a page as permanent. It will always be listed on the top of your blog where that beautiful header picture was that Catherine developed, and underneath there was like a black strip, and then the pages, if you add more pages, they accumulate across the top. And so you can, have a page that says directions, or you can have a page that says contact us with a form for people to contact you. So there's quite a few things that you can do, and they would always stay there. You don't change pages, but blogs are, rather posts are much more topical, and that's what changes a lot on your WordPress site. But the pages normally don't.
And also, I'll make another point. When Michele was talking about putting warmth in the essay, again, I was talking about the picture sizes, but also you use your pictures to navigate the trace of your story. A lot of people just scan, but in that first paragraph, you could be talking about the home place, how long it's been in your family. And in the next paragraph, you would just simply narrow down to you have a farm stand, how that was built, and then just finish off with a nice little inspiring sign, something pretty. Okay, let's go into statistics. So how do you figure out how well your blog is performing? Well, with the free service, WordPress helps you in about 3 ways to determine. And here, if you want to say, how am I doing day to day? You check your daily stats, and here you see the bars go up and down, and it's indicating views and visitor views, how many times somebody is clicking and just taking a quick little look, is in light blue, and the darker blue is visitors. Those are people who linger a little longer, and they might click through a couple of views. And then there's summaries down at the bottom. But here, it will give you information and for the one day, and then it'll also give you best ever and all time. So when you look at this, it will tell you what days your blog may perform better than others. You just study this, and it takes a little while to get a pattern. Another way to look at patterns is this, months and years. Here you can really see the numbers spreading out, and you can almost see what's performing maybe better at some times than others. My blog has been up a couple of years, so you can see I've started to increase. For instance, if you look at months and years, if you go over to the far right, you see a total. In 2013, 3,000, almost 4,000. When I finished out 2014, it was over 9,000. Here I am in the last quarter. I'm at over 8,000, so I will probably finish out a little higher. And that just shows some incremental growth. Okay, there's yet another way to measure, and this is the really fun part. Where do your visitors live? I think it's so much fun when I check my page in the morning. I love to see who read me and at what time on the other side of the world. And so typically I will see in the morning U.S., Australia, Netherlands, and United Kingdom. So it's interesting that somebody across the world in Australia has already looked at my blog while I was asleep. So that's the fun part, and you will meet other people in the ag business from other countries, and you will make friends. I have so many other writer friends that I talk shop with. Wouldn't you say the same thing, Michele?
Absolutely. It's just a great way to network.
It is a great way to network. But you,
Refers is fun too. You can talk about referrers.
this simply says where people were and how they got to your site. Right now, it's fairly early in the morning for me, but with search engines, I've had 4 views that have germinated from there. And then I have, I have one from an article in the Huffington Post. My blog was featured in the Huffington Post, so you see a little link there. And then the normal Google Plus and Facebook. A quick note, if you would remind us, Michele, when we are following and sharing, the same rules apply as they do on any other platforms like Twitter or Facebook, is there's a certain etiquette. And how do you share with people who visit you and like you? You'll see that you can get likes and comments from visitors. So how do you treat those people, Michele?
Well, usually one of the things that we'll do is if someone has liked my blog or commented on it, I will check their blog out. And if I find it interesting, it's not come see, come saw. It's not exactly quid pro quo. There are some people who have followed me that I don't have any interest in following back. But for the most part, I do try and follow people who follow me. Usually you find something in common with them, but it's the social part of blogging that people get to know you and they start featuring your blog link on their blog, so you can get a lot of traffic that way.
Yes, and move the arrow back up to the Reader. Go up to My Sites and Reader. Let's not forget, we started out with Reader. We're ending a little bit here. And when you click on Reader, you are going to see all the posts that from blogs that you might be following. You'll have some suggested to you. So when you get in that Reader area, that's just where you play around, and it simply reveals, it makes visible all kinds of posts, blogs, subject matter, and you will start to see how you will be prompted to people who blog in a similar vein as you. And WordPress tends to bring like-minded people together. So that's part of the exploration part that we can't cover here. But just remember, you began with Reader. When we're coming out to our community, let's think about Reader and how we connect. Talk about connecting. Because we did not have this in active video demonstrating in real time, Michele and I invite you to contact us. We've given you the basics, but if you have any questions, you will see down at the bottom our emails. However, we want to remind you of other sources that are immediate. WordPress provides help. There's a help button. It's prominent. It gives answers in forums for you. It is very thorough. You just fill out, I need widgets. You could put widgets in a search box and it will pull up all kinds of information to help you. I highly recommend a little group called Udemy. They're like a little academy, so to speak, and it has hundreds of tutorials. The instructors are approved. You can go on YouTube and plug in beginner WordPress, something like that, but you'll get an amalgam of the good and the bad and the not so good. So if you go to Udemy, you will find lots of free courses. And you can scoot around in that, and they do offer reviews. Users offer reviews, so you can decide who you like. And you can always go in, and if you don't like it, click back out. But Udemy is great. And I will also say, though, feel free to contact us, and we'll, with a question, or if you need to talk to us, we will try to work that out at a convenient time for all parties. So again, there are our emails. And in 2016, we will be seeing you for Part 2. And in Part 2, we're going to start to pull it together and add much more depth to our site, many more ways to attract people. But with this gets you started. The biggest part is to experiment, have fun, be patient, and enjoy working with the images and the colors and the layout, and you'll see how beautifully your stories flow with visual flow. Michele, is there anything else you would like to say?
Yes, I do want to just again encourage everybody not to be intimidated. This is, if you've done email, if you've ever attached a photograph and sent it to a friend, you essentially are doing the same thing. The linking of pictures or the linking of websites and writing some copy and attaching a photograph is very, very similar to email. I would encourage you that there's no set rule of how often you should blog. Once a week might be a target for somebody just starting out. And you don't have to write a 500-word essay. It could be as simple of, imagine you live on a family farm and you wake up in the morning and you go down to your kitchen and the fog is lifting and the sun is rising and you have this beautiful view outside your kitchen window. Take a picture. Get your cell phone, take your smartphone, snap a picture. That can be a blog post. It's as simple as saying, I'm an individual. I'm a part of a family that lives on this beautiful place that we call XYZ Farm. And I wanted to share this view with you today. So it could be as simple as a photograph with a caption. It also could be about, we raise sheep. You might feature a different breed once a week. Now we're going to tell you a little bit now about the Dorset sheep. We're going to tell you a little bit about the Coverdale sheep. And this is a sheep for wool. This is a sheep for meat. So you can educate your audience. You can talk about your family history. You could post a picture of your grandfather and say, this was what the farm looked like in 1947. That's my great-grandfather over there in the corner. So it should be, because what we're encouraging you to do is tell your story. Catherine is a storyteller. She writes beautiful stories on her blogs. We want to empower you and encourage you to share your stories because people find them interesting. You may think what you do every day. If your children are helping you with the poultry farm and they're going out there or they're running through the cornfields, these are great opportunities to tell people this is the food we eat, this is the food we harvest, this is our life, this is our history, these are our products. And just by being authentic like that and genuine and not trying to be fancy schmancy, but just talking about who you are and what you do is what people find. This is what connects people to you and therefore connects them with agriculture. So definitely pick a theme. It's a lot of fun to do. Catherine and I have learned, believe me, my first couple of blogs were horrible, and then I got better and better and better at it. And I have about 4 or 5 of them now. I think Catherine's got 3 or 4. So once you start, it's going to be hard to stop. But I hope that you take that advice, and by all means, I'm an extension, as some of you know. I'm willing to share this information out. So if you are playing around with this and you get stuck on something, please feel free to email us or call us up and say, hey, I'm stuck. I don't know how to fix this, and we'll be glad to help you.
Well, I'll add one more thing to that. First of all, for blogging, Michele said you might want to try once a week. Here's the point. To really be picked up by engines and by followers, you want to blog consistently. And often people find that blogs do well when they're posted on Thursday afternoons and into Friday, especially if you post on Facebook. We'll show you how to link to other social media platforms. But the point is you want to post at a certain time because people will expect your post to show up in their reader. There's certain people I read consistently, and I expect their posts. There's one person who posts beautiful essays. He's in New York every Monday. Again, the subject matter that Michele reinforced, gardening. I storytell about several topics, but one is gardening. I come from a family of gardeners and back a couple of generations farmers. So I enjoy blogging about that. Gardening pulls. It pulls. Gardening and food pull big in blogs and on Pinterest. So you see people are so drawn to it, and you have a chance to make your site so beautifully aesthetic.
Thank you for watching our archived presentation of our Wednesday webinar. If you would like to see more archived Wednesday webinars, please visit our YouTube channel. Or to find a schedule of upcoming live webinars, visit our website.